Walk into almost any gym at 6 p.m. Every treadmill is occupied. The dumbbell section is packed. People are waiting for machines. The front desk is surrounded by new members. And if you're thinking about opening a gym, this is the moment when the business looks almost impossible to lose. You look around and think, every person in here is paying every month. More people, more memberships, more money. Simple. Except there's a problem. The busiest hour of the day might be the worst possible hour to judge a gym. Because a gym isn't really a fitness business. It's a subscription business that happens to contain treadmills and dumbbells. And once you understand that, some very strange things start to make sense. Why can a gym have thousands of members, but only a few hundred people inside at any given moment? Why can the person who never visits be more profitable than the person who trains 6 days a week? Why does January look like a gold rush for gym owners? And perhaps most importantly, why can a gym that looks packed still lose money? Let's follow the money.
There isn't actually one gym business. There are several. And although they all look similar from the outside, financially, they're completely different animals. At the low end are budget gyms. Think memberships around $10 to $25 a month. The strategy is simple. Get a huge number of people through the front door, charge each person relatively little, and rely on volume. A large budget facility might have several thousand members. It doesn't need thousands of people inside at the same time. In fact, it couldn't handle them. Then you have the traditional commercial gym. More equipment, more classes, more staff, higher membership prices. Then there's the luxury health club. Now you're not really selling a place to exercise. You're selling an experience, spa services, premium locker rooms, recovery areas, lounges, sometimes even co-working spaces. Membership can climb well beyond $100 a month. Then you have boutique studios, small spaces, one specific type of workout. Pilates, cycling, boxing, strength training, dance. These businesses can charge far more per square foot because they're selling specialization. And finally, there's the personal training studio. Sometimes only a few hundred square feet, no giant cardio floor, no thousands of members. Instead, the business sells something much more limited, a trainer's time. So every gym is really answering the same question. Do you want to make money from a lot of people paying a little or a smaller number of people paying a lot? That decision determines almost everything that comes next.
Now imagine you've decided to open your own gym. You find an empty commercial building. You sign the lease, and you're ready to put some treadmills inside. Except you're nowhere near opening, because the first expensive thing isn't the equipment, it's the building. A commercial landlord may want several months of rent as a security deposit before you've even renovated the space. Then comes the build-out. And this is where the fantasy starts meeting reality. That empty retail box needs flooring, heavy-duty rubber flooring, walls, mirrors, electrical work, plumbing, bathrooms, showers, locker rooms, lighting, reception areas, fire safety systems. And then there's one expense that most first-time owners dramatically underestimate: air. A normal retail store wasn't designed for hundreds of people exercising simultaneously. A gym is basically a giant human-powered heat generator. People sweat, people breathe, people generate heat. And all that heat and moisture has to go somewhere. So you need serious ventilation and HVAC capacity. Depending on the building, upgrading that system alone can become a major 5-figure expense. And now you're still standing inside an empty room. You haven't bought a single treadmill, you haven't hired a trainer, you haven't sold a membership. You've just made the building usable. Add the deposit, the renovation, permits, licensing, insurance, opening marketing, technology, staffing, and critically, enough cash to survive the months when revenue hasn't caught up with expenses. Suddenly, the idea of, "I'll just rent a building and put some equipment inside," looks very different. A serious commercial gym can require hundreds of thousands of dollars and potentially well over $1 million to get from an empty building to a functioning business. And now you need equipment.
A commercial treadmill isn't the same thing as the treadmill sitting in someone's basement. It's designed to run and run and run all day, every day. Commercial-grade treadmills can cost thousands of dollars each, and one or two aren't enough. A proper cardio section might need several. Then come strength machines, cable systems, power racks, benches, dumbbells, plates, specialty equipment, storage. And suddenly, that shiny equipment catalog is looking less like a shopping list and more like a mortgage. A mid-sized gym can easily put tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars into equipment. Then comes the big decision: buy it or lease it. Buying means you own the equipment. Sounds great, but there's a problem. You just spent a huge chunk of your cash before you've built a stable membership base. And equipment doesn't sit there forever. It gets abused. Treadmill belts wear out. Cables break. Upholstery tears. Electronics fail. Dumbbells get dropped. Machines need servicing. Leasing solves one problem. You preserve cash. But now you've created another, a monthly contractual payment. And that payment doesn't care whether your gym is full. If membership suddenly falls, the lease bill still arrives. That's the first major lesson of the gym business. Before you make your first dollar, you've already created a pile of bills that don't care how many people walk through the door.
Then comes location. And most first-time owners think the best location is simply the one with the most people. Not quite. A gym is an extremely local business. Your customers generally aren't driving 40 minutes across town to use your facility every Tuesday night. Your real market is the people who live, work, or regularly travel within a convenient radius. And that changes everything. Imagine you open a premium gym charging $150 a month, but the surrounding neighborhood is overwhelmingly price-sensitive. You can have beautiful equipment, amazing lighting, a huge parking lot. It doesn't matter. The economics don't match the neighborhood. Now reverse it. You open a $20 budget gym in an expensive area where customers are willing to pay $150 for a premium experience. You might have the opposite problem. You're underpricing the market. And there's another trap: visibility. A highly visible location can be incredibly expensive. But does a gym actually need the same kind of visibility as a restaurant or retail store? Not necessarily. People don't need to see your gym every time they drive past it. They need to know it's convenient. They need to be able to reach it easily. They need somewhere to park. And, most importantly, the people who live around it need to want the product you're selling. A beautiful building in the wrong neighborhood can be one of the most expensive mistakes an owner can make.
Now we reach the most important part of the entire business, the membership. And here's where the gym business becomes almost counterintuitive. Imagine two customers. Customer A signs up in January. They come Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every week. They shower, they use the treadmills, they lift weights, they use towels, they occupy equipment, they consume electricity, they use hot water, they take up floor space. They are a fantastic customer from a fitness perspective. But financially, consider customer B. They sign up in January, they come twice, then life gets busy, they stop coming, but they don't cancel. February payment goes through, March payment goes through, April, May, June. The gym keeps collecting money. And what does the gym have to provide in return? Almost nothing. No treadmill wear, no shower, no towel, no crowded floor, no additional staff requirement, no meaningful marginal cost. This is the uncomfortable secret hiding inside the gym business. An inactive member can be incredibly profitable. The gym isn't necessarily trying to make you unhealthy. That's not the point. The point is that the economics of the subscription don't need you using the product every day. Netflix doesn't need you watching 8 hours a day. A software company doesn't need every customer using every feature. And a gym doesn't need every member standing inside the building every evening. In fact, the building physically couldn't handle it.
Imagine a gym with 7,000 members. Now imagine all 7,000 people showing up at once. It would be chaos. The building couldn't comfortably handle them. The equipment wouldn't be enough. The parking lot would be overwhelmed. Capacity rules would become a problem. So what is the gym actually selling? It's selling statistical access. The gym is betting that thousands of people will purchase membership while only a fraction of them will actually show up at any given moment. That's the genius of the subscription model. You don't build a facility large enough for every customer.
You build it large enough for the percentage of customers you expect to actually use it simultaneously. And that creates a strange economic relationship. The gym doesn't necessarily want 7,000 people exercising every night. It wants 7,000 people paying, with a manageable percentage actually showing up. Because if every member suddenly became extremely committed to fitness, the gym would need more space, more machines, more staff, more parking, more electricity, more showers, more everything. The best customer, financially speaking, is often the customer who pays and barely consumes the product.
And then there's January. Every gym owner knows what happens. New Year's resolutions hit. People look at themselves in the mirror and think, this year is going to be different. Gym memberships explode. Advertising ramps up. Joining offers appear everywhere. Discounts, free trials, no initiation fee. The entire industry goes hunting for the same thing: January motivation. But here's the problem. January motivation has an expiration date. The people who sign up aren't all going to become lifelong members. Some disappear in February. Others make it to March. Some survive until summer. And eventually, a large percentage stop attending. That's why experienced gym owners don't look at January revenue and think, we're rich. They think, how much of this revenue can we keep? Because January can create a temporary flood of cash. And if the owner treats that flood like permanent revenue, the summer can be brutal. The smart operator builds a financial cushion during the strong months. The inexperienced operator spends the spike, then wonders why the business suddenly feels broke 6 months later.
Now, suppose you don't want to build the brand yourself. You could buy into a franchise. And this sounds attractive. You get a recognizable name, a standardized business model, marketing support, software, training, potentially better equipment pricing through corporate purchasing. But there's a price. You pay an upfront franchise fee, then ongoing royalties, then potentially additional marketing contributions. In other words, you don't just share the building with your members, you share the economics with the parent company. An independent gym has more control, but it also has to build everything from scratch. The franchise has less freedom, but potentially more support. Neither model automatically wins. The question is whether the additional members and credibility created by the franchise are worth the slice of revenue you're giving away. And that brings us to something even more interesting: the psychology of the customer.
Why does someone keep paying for a gym they haven't visited in 6 months? Because the membership isn't just a purchase, it's a promise. You're not buying a treadmill. You're buying the idea that I'm going to become the person who uses this treadmill. That's powerful. The membership represents the future version of yourself, and canceling means admitting that future version hasn't shown up. There's also inertia. If the membership costs $20 or $30 a month, many people don't feel enough pain to cancel immediately. $20 disappears into a credit card statement. Then another month passes, then another, and the gym keeps billing. This is why cancellation processes have become a major consumer protection issue. Regulators have increasingly focused on subscription businesses that make signing up dramatically easier than leaving. And gyms are one of the most obvious examples, because there's a fundamental difference between "I forgot to cancel" and "I intentionally renewed my membership." Those aren't the same behavior, and when thousands of customers experience the first one, it becomes a meaningful part of the business model. Now let's talk about the expenses hiding underneath the membership revenue, because treadmills aren't the only things costing money. Start with music. You can't necessarily take your personal music subscription, plug it into a commercial sound system, and call it a day. Businesses playing copyrighted music publicly may need appropriate licensing. Then there's maintenance, treadmill belts, cables, pulleys, seats, screens, air conditioning, plumbing, showers, water heaters, and electricity. A gym can be one of the most utility-intensive businesses in a commercial building. You're ventilating large spaces, running lights, operating machines, heating water, cooling hundreds of people, and doing it for long hours. Individually, these costs don't sound terrifying, but that's the trick. The gym business isn't usually destroyed by one enormous expense. It's often death by 1,000 small expenses. $1,000 here, $2,000 there, another repair, another replacement, another insurance increase, another software bill, another maintenance contract.
The owner looks at each one and thinks, that's manageable. And individually, they're right. Together, they can destroy the margin.
And this is where the biggest misconception appears. A gym can look successful and still be financially fragile. A packed parking lot doesn't tell you the debt balance. A crowded weight floor doesn't tell you the rent. Thousands of members don't tell you the churn rate. A huge revenue number doesn't tell you how much goes to equipment financing, payroll, interest, rent, utilities, insurance, and other operating costs. Some major fitness chains have learned this lesson the hard way. The collapse of large gym businesses has repeatedly shown the same structural problem. Scale does not automatically equal financial health. You can have hundreds of locations, millions of members, massive revenue, and still collapse if debt, fixed costs, and cash flow get out of alignment. That's the part most customers never see. They see the treadmill, the receptionist, the locker room, the full parking lot. The business owner sees something completely different. They see rent, payroll, debt, churn, acquisition costs, maintenance, utilities, and the number of months of cash remaining.
So let's simplify the entire business. Imagine your gym costs $30,000 every month just to operate. Rent, payroll, insurance, equipment payments, utilities, software, everything. Now imagine your average member pays $89 per month. You need roughly 337 paying members just to cover that $30,000. Member number 336, you're still losing money. Member number 337, you're around break even. Every member after that starts contributing toward profit, assuming your variable costs remain manageable. But here's the catch. You don't automatically get to 337 members. A new gym might spend a year or more building its customer base, and every month during that period, the bills keep coming. That's why the cash reserve matters so much. The gym doesn't just need enough money to open, it needs enough money to survive long enough to become profitable.
And then there's churn, the silent killer. Suppose you have 500 members, and every month some percentage cancel. It doesn't sound dramatic. 5 here, 10 there, 20 next month, but over an entire year, the numbers compound. And now your job isn't simply to grow, you're replacing the people who left. That means a gym can spend enormous amounts of energy acquiring new members just to finish the year with almost exactly the same number it started with. That's not growth, that's running on a treadmill. And ironically, that's exactly what the business is selling.
This is why smart gym owners eventually look beyond basic memberships, personal training, small group training, premium classes, nutrition services, recovery. Those products can dramatically increase revenue per customer because a basic membership might generate $30, $50, or $90 a month. A personal training client can generate hundreds. But there's a limitation. A trainer only has so many hours in a day. One trainer, one client, 1 hour. There's a ceiling. Small group training changes the equation. One trainer, 4 clients, each paying for the session. Suddenly, the trainer can generate significantly more revenue from the same hour. The customer gets a cheaper alternative to one-on-one coaching. The trainer can earn more, and the gym can capture more revenue from the same physical space. That's why the modern gym isn't simply selling access to equipment. It's increasingly selling layers of monetization around the member. Membership gets them through the door. Training increases revenue. Classes increase engagement. Premium services increase spending. And the longer the customer stays, the more valuable that customer becomes.
So let's return to that crowded gym we started with. It's 6 p.m. The treadmills are full, the dumbbells are moving, the parking lot is packed. And from the outside, the business looks incredibly profitable. But now you know what you're actually looking at. You aren't looking at profit, you're looking at activity. Those are two completely different things. Behind that crowded floor is a complicated machine, thousands of memberships, a percentage of customers who never show up, a smaller percentage who use the gym constantly, rent that has to be paid every month, equipment that eventually breaks, utilities that never stop running, staff who have to be paid, debt that doesn't disappear when membership falls, and a constant battle against churn.
The best gym operators understand something that isn't obvious from the weight floor. They aren't really selling workouts. They're selling recurring access. They're managing capacity. They're managing customer behavior. They're managing cash flow. And they're constantly trying to increase the amount of money each customer generates without increasing costs at the same rate. That's the real gym business. And perhaps the strangest part is this. The person who walks into the gym every single day may feel like the perfect customer. But from the spreadsheet's perspective, the person who signed up, forgot about the membership, and keeps paying every month might be even better. Because in the gym business, the hardest thing to sell isn't a workout. It's a recurring payment that survives after the motivation disappears.